Always be accusing me of raising up the frequency. And I stay secluded with my oracle so peacefully. Listen to my...
I want to ask you a question. Do you know how you were privileged to go on that boat to go to the United States? I said, no. Do you remember a man that you liked very much by the name of Melvin McNabb? I said, yes. He said that man paid the owner of that boat. The owner of the boat is named Felix Borden. He was a very nice man too. And he was a Sagittarius. And he had liked me, the owner of the boat. But this other man, Melvin McNabb, paid him money to take me to the United States. But wow, why am I privileged? So Plonny Jones, the captain of the boat, is gonna tell me now why. He said, you remember you liked that man? I said, yes, I did. I like Uncle Mel. Why shouldn't I? But he paid for you to go on that boat to get rid of you in the United States, and that he would keep your land. I said, no, he didn't. He said, yes, he did. I said, no, he didn't. Look at it right. Don't misinterpret. I said, Uncle Mel paid for me to go to the United States, for me to come back as a doctor. Where is he? Because he may be sick. He said, are you serious? I said, yeah, because I love him. He said, a woman killed him, stabbed him 17 times. God damn. I didn't like hearing that because I like Uncle Mel. Of course I did. He had spunk. He was a go-getter. Even though he wanted to take my land, that's what he wanted to do. That is not what nature had intended for him to do. So why should I get angry at him? I'm not going to get angry at him for his intent. I am not angry at him. And guess what? I went to America and became what I am. And the land that he wanted to take away from me is the land that I own in Rotan. You see? It didn't cause me any emotional pain. I like Uncle Mel. Like him now. He was a bad man, but he was a ditchman. You see? And being that he was that, he didn't know that that had consequences. He didn't know that. He didn't know that. One item, because everything I've done, I was led to do it. You understand? I was led to do it. In other words, I was prepared to do it and did it, but what the credit I'm supposed to give myself? What kind of reward? Hey, nigga, be quiet, you're alive. And that's not enough? Well, you want something beside that? Do you? But we never think about that. That's why one day I'm looking at with Taiwa. Me and Ty were looking at these cartoons. And one of the cartoons, the Muppet. Yeah. I am alive. I am alive. A-L-I-V-E. I am alive. A donkey is alive. A chicken is alive. And so am I. I am alive. Yeah. And I kept hearing that. I am alive.
That's the hit.
You know what that means, man? That's everything. But in today's world, I'm alive isn't sufficient. I need diamonds on my body.
Right. I need monuments.
I need a Rolex watch, man. I need my Rolex watch, you know?
I need a Bentley and something.
I need. Pablo, are you hip to El Topo?
El Topo?
Well, again, you see? That comes out of your culture. El Topo is one of the baddest pieces you're gonna ever see. Where this man, wife died, his son was very much attached to his mommy. And boy, his daddy saw that and saw that this dependency is unreal. He told his son to gather all the things that he liked best. And in the thing that he liked best was his mother's picture. He said, put it in that bag. And he took him in the desert and said, you dig a hole. And you put that stuff in there and bury it. And as the boy jumped on the back of the horse going back, well, they told me the story, I didn't see it. But it's in El Topo. But I know this kind of energy comes out of Mexico. It's some deep shit. They put some deep shit on your ass. Look, number one, here's one for you. The woman that killed the naked man in Hermosillo. The protein she did was to take his clothes off. She said, take his clothes off. And they got him naked. And the man sit right down. And they could not, they could not understand why. But the oxygen was engulfing his body now, and his brain, his central nervous system calming down. Oxygen, but we covered up. Because we have to obey the mandate designed by the industrialists, not the mandate of life itself. And whenever you step out of the mandate of life, you get into trouble.
Big time.
Because now you're violating life. And you're going to get away with that? Are you out of your mind? Look, you can violate Socrates and Plato, but you're not going to play with life. The two people or two things that you will not play with is life and that one-eyed bandit, self.
Yes.
I learned about self in Detroit
Yes.
from a sister who's a school teacher. Well, the description she gave of self, I mean, you don't want to mess with self. Mess with anything else but self. And it is so beautiful. So now we find ourselves trying to make a decision in our lives, or make a decision in our lives that will bring about a degree of peace. Because that's all we're looking for. It's peace. Just contentment, to be tranquil. Yeah. I could smile, I could listen to the birds. I could enjoy the butterflies. Of course, why not? But for us to really understand the mechanics behind that, we have to begin with life itself. What about life? There's an arrangement. There is an arrangement that is right on time every year. Spring is never late.
Never.
Summer is never late. Winter nor autumn. They come right on time. And those plants that we see that blooms every year, they come at the same time every year. What happened? Is there a computer in each of those plants that's going to connect them with the time in which they're supposed to bloom? No. That is a cosmic arrangement. Like that plant, like that bird that flies from the north to the south. When winter arrives or when autumn arrives, he doesn't read any calendar. Oh, it is October or November the 27th. We got to start packing. He picks it up in his feathers. And they all get the same message and they are gone south. So now, as we begin to talk about the thing that we talk about, they should always be connected to the foundation of life. Why? Because it is electrical. is electrical, is compatible with us. This is about the ABCs of healing. The ABCs of healing. Of course, the beginning, to understand it. You see, it's artificial anyway. Healing is as artificial as wearing a pair of shoes. That's artificial. Because you're not touching the soil no longer with your bottom of your feet to receive the minerals. But I'm now modern. I can't help it. I got to walk not only with shoes but socks on too. Further disconnecting me. So to understand healing is very, very good. And we all should. And we all could. And the purpose of understanding healing, it brings about what? Peace. It brings about love for self. So we begin the journey. Where do we begin with healing? Once upon a time, brothers and sisters and friends, listeners, we didn't have to know anything about anything in reference to making a decision to put something in our mouth. We did not have to read a book.
Right.
We didn't have a nutritionist. We didn't have any enzymes, protein, and vitamins. Why? Because all the things in our environment were alkali. We didn't have to make a decision whether this is good or bad, or try to make that distinction. Now you better know it. You better know, because right now we are engulfed and surrounded with the use of many, 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 many inorganic substances. Yes, we are. We are surrounded by it, immersed in it, and we want to get out of it. But to get out of it is to know that it is bad. And the only way that you're going to know that these things are not as complementary as we would like for them to be, you have to compare them with life. And that is Mother Nature, Pachamama. Now we begin the journey. In life, life substance has a base. They call it carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. This you find in the science of biochemistry. The foundation of biochemistry is the understanding that carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen is the composition of life. Without these three players, life does not exist in that substance. This is why you could burn a carrot, you could burn beets. It doesn't burn to ashes. The only thing that burns to ashes is those things, or are those things, that are carbon based. They are what? They are considered native by the geologists. So we find carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. If the substance doesn't have these three as players in the core of its structure, you have an acid substance that is against life itself. Now, we are not living 500 years ago when our mothers didn't have to make a decision what she's going to feed her baby, because she only fed her baby her milk. Her milk. And her milk was not impregnated with meat, with starches, because they simply did not exist. They did not eat any starches, which is carbonic acid. So now, to understand nature, you will see, as we begin to excavate, little by little, we find that nature doesn't produce any substance that has starch in it. or present. Starch is counter life, against life. Nature did not produce a starch substance. That is a yardstick or a measure that you could use to be able to navigate through the maze, because you have confounded things. You see, once upon a time on this planet, there were no comfrey, there were no whole wheat, there were no bulgur wheat, there were no oatmeal, there weren't any carrots or beets, there weren't any echinacea or aloe vera, there weren't any golden seal, and many, many, many others. Now, why were these things made? I don't know, but I know this, that these things doesn't play any part in the sustenance of life. So in the ABCs of our understanding as to what is and what shouldn't be in our presence or diet is to understand that everything that has electricity has to be starch-less. A substance that is starch-less is considered to be alkali. A substance that has starch is acid. Energy will not be obtained from nor found in it. So as we continue now with the ABCs of understanding what is healing, we have to understand life structure. Life structure. In understanding life structure, then you'll be able to select. You will be able to select from the forest the things that are life-giving. When I was in Washington a few years ago, I remember seeing a brother of mine that we all love, Jimmy Gray. He always had a licorice stick in his mouth. And most of us that begin to grow in the understanding of what is nutrition, many of us have used licorice stick as a nourishing agent. But in reality, licorice stick has more glycerinic acid than does sugar. It will hurt you. It will hurt you. Why? Simply because it isn't a product that came from Mother Nature. So apart from understanding that in the structure of life, you find carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. That's necessary. But since we work every day and we're very busy, we don't have time to be going into the chemistry because it sometimes becomes confounded and difficult. But a good measure is, it has starch? Yes. Well, it's no good for me. Simple as that. So, what am I going to do? I'm not going to eat any whole wheat bread. I'm not going to eat barley, but I'm going to eat spelt bread. Yes, I'm going to eat spelt bread. Why? Because it is starch-less. I could eat injera, that is starch-less. And we could eat fonio, starch-less, instead of rice. Because the objective is what? Peace. I want to find peace within myself. That's the only objective. It's not the amount of money that I could amass. It's not the amount of houses that I own, because I could only live in one room. It's about the state of our health. And to understand or to treat that, to maintain this state of health that would privilege us, to live comfortable. That's all we want. We want to live comfortable. That doesn't cost any money. It just costs a couple of seconds of nothing really. It doesn't cost anything. It just requires a level of understanding. In that understanding, you begin to make a better selection. It's not like 500 years ago. You didn't have to weed between the maze of negative because there weren't any negatives. Those things didn't exist. Day before yesterday, which was Tuesday, Mr. G, Marina, Orel, and last but not least, well, there was Pablo and the sister Chef Aki. They went to the Maya ruins. We all went together, but I didn't go in this time. I stayed in the car and let them go. Because I want them to hear without my mouth. When they came back, I said to them, I asked them, what do y'all learn? Well, Queen of Chef Aki said, why so much blood? I said, I don't know if there were any blood. But the guide said there were blood. Oh, well, how would we know this, that there were blood, when the Maya ate only that which was alkali? It would have been difficult, very, 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 very difficult for him to leave a relaxed state and find a reason to kill someone, another human being. You see, we know this to be true, that the Maya didn't eat corn, rice, nor beans, but the guy told these people that the Maya ate these things. That is not really true. The Maya couldn't have been eating corn, nor rice, nor beans. Why? Because these things are European, all of them. They are hybrids. They were brought to this part of the world with Christopher Columbus. Furthermore, these things had starch. Even until recently, and even today, they have a grain here known as teosinte. They make tamales and they make tortillas, just like they use corn, but it is natural and it is starch-less. Just go back to the Maya and the guy telling these people, our brothers and sisters, that the Maya ate corn and they ate rice and beans. Now, this information wasn't true. What else did they say about the Maya that we have to suspect to be other than true? Many other things. So you see, we are surrounded with misinformation. And out of that package of misinformation that we learn in school and we pick up in the environment, we use that in our everyday life to make our decision. Well, I wasn't privileged to school, you see. I see things different. I see things differently. Not better, because I'm not better than anyone, but I see things differently. Much different. That difference is tied to Mother Nature. I never make a decision that isn't connected to life. The decision that I make have to be connected to life. The components have to be life-giving. This is why it's difficult for me to live in the world of belief. I don't believe in anything. I didn't have to believe in anything. I don't even believe in myself. Talk about someone or something else. Now, as for myself, again, that difference that I see things by and in the environment of difference is precipitated by what I see in Mother Nature. I'm always in favor of the woman being the leader because that's what she really represents, that female gender. I have no difficulty with that. But in the last 50 years of my life that I've been married to various women, maybe I prevented them from exhibiting that energy and that tenacity of a female. Maybe there was something about me that prevented these women from exhibiting that power, that energy then, that energy. Can't blame them. But my interpretation is a little bit different. Again, different. But I recognize that the woman is the energy that maintains the society. So because that is in conformity with life. Again, the elephant family is only composed of females. And those of you who have grown marijuana, the one thing that you don't want in your field is a male plant. You yank him out. Always the female. In fact, here in Honduras, I gave people the duck. The duck is a beautiful orchid. It's purple and lavender. It's a female plant. All of the plants in the forest that produces the flower, they have to be female because they are the ones that are reproducing. So that is this. The beginning of this ABCs of understanding that is required for us to put into motion when we come in contact with another human being. You have to recognize that you don't know that person and that you're going to have to allow them the privilege to express themselves the way they are, the way they see things, and you and I not criticize that because they are different. That's only the beginning. To recognize others as you would your own self. There we find now the journey becomes stressless. You're not afraid to make decisions. And even if you make a mistake, or you're happy because you can learn something. Right. But when you live in this world of philosophy, it doesn't allow you too much leverage. And then you feel like you have to walk and do things within a particular perimeter. No. That is mechanically arranged. So bolingo is a word that came out of the Congo, which means love. Love. Love meaning that we have reached a level of acceptance, of self-acceptance. And in so doing, I love everybody. I love everybody. Bolingo is to bring out of us the best that is locked by the acid condition that exists in our body today. We want to relax. We want to be in a stressless state. But to accomplish that, we have to select the proper food. Every cell is made up of a different structure, a different mineral. The bones are calcium, the blood is iron, the brain is copper and carbon. But what about the individual person? Does he represent a DNA that is different from everybody else? Yes. Yes. His DNA is different. But has that difference been treated? No, it hasn't been treated. They give us the same medicine they give everybody else. Yet the physician would tell us that one fits all. But that's impossible. My genetical predisposition is different. I'm supposed to be treated differently. Am I? No. So we at Bolingo, knowing that this has been omitted, this degree of understanding or this level of understanding has not surfaced yet. In 1988, the present philosophy of medicine was challenged. Not for the first time. 2,781 cases before was challenged the American Medical Association. The African biomineral balance was the only therapeutical approach that prevailed over the existing philosophy. But to do so, we had to rely again on the natural manifestation of life. We had to select from that particular perspective the compounds used to bring about the reversibility. No big secret. Electric body, electric foods. It is said by many that when the body is sick, it needs a medicine to cure it. The African biomineral balance negates that position. When the body is sick, it means that it needs to be nourished back to health, because minerals have been lost, energy has been lost. We have to retrieve that to bring about the degree of energy that would help this individual to manage their own daily life. That cannot be accomplished by medicine. It has never been accomplished by any medicine in the last 500 years. But the African biomineral balance that just came into existence just about 45, 47 years ago, we have on record that by putting into motion Mother Nature and using from her compounds or her natural materials, yes, we are proud to say at Bolingo that we cure AIDS, we cure sickle cell, blindness, diabetes, lupus, herpes. We should be proud that we have raised the bar and set the standards. Of course, why not? The purpose of science is to improve the present condition, and you keep improving until you reach that level of ultimate perfection. Where that is, I don't know. But if there is an offering that eclipses all others, then we are obligated to raise with the level that has, the new level that has been established. If we fail and we operate substrata, it means that we are being inconsiderate and we want to deny truth. No. That breaks down the whole fiber of the family. We at Bolingo understand that many of our brothers and sisters who are in the art of healing have reluctantly refused, they have refused and were reluctant to even join Dr. Sebi in 1988. He was told by many of them in New York that he got himself in this mess, he had to take his own self out. They were under the impression that I was going to lose. But by me knowing that the premise and the very foundation that I was going to use and establish in the Supreme Court of New York was solid as it could ever be, I didn't walk in there expecting to lose. They calibrated me with their barometer that they have measured their own self by. Where lo and behold, we prevailed. So today, we make the announcement that there is any disease that our family is beset by, that we do not have the answer at Bolingo, and that we, with the African biomineral balance, has not reversed. Yes, it is not an alternative. It is complementary. For it to be complementary, it has to be electrical. Welcome. Welcome to the new perspective of healing. New, I said. But in reality, it is as old as creation. Yeah. The subject is healing. You see, it has to be as old as creation. Because the components that is going to address healing or bring about healing has to be one that is considered native geologically. Native plants are natural plants. Natural plants are electrical. Why? The base of natural plant, the very foundation, is what the Chinese call the CHO arrangement. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So in life, to life expression, for life to express itself or to exist, there has to be what? Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The Chinese call it the Cho. I agree. What does Cho have to do with healing? It is the structure that would allow a substance to readily assimilate biologically. Without carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, that substance is non-electrical. It is non-organic. So, as we take a look at life, we want to clear the air. We want to dismiss that myth. We want to dispel the myth that this and that is incurable, and that this and that disease came through the process of what? Germ, virus, or bacteria. Well, you see, this is the philosophy of medicine. As you can see, I am of a genetical predisposition that is African. I am an African, and I think that it is the greatest thing that ever happened to me, to be born an African. Or, like, if I was a Chinaman, I would have loved to be a Chinaman, or a Caucasian, or an Arab, or an Eskimo. So, we are talking this way to show that whatever you are, that is what you were supposed to be. And as we are that expression that life made, like life expression carved out this image you called Sebi, I had no control of that. So as we travel on the journey of healing, we want to ask one question that hasn't been asked in my lifetime that I know about, and probably it has been asked. And I am totally unaware of it. It doesn't mean that it wasn't asked. Why do we get sick? The body was not designed to be sick. Bird doesn't get sick. Elephant doesn't get sick. He needs no vet. The lion doesn't need a vet. Neither is a giraffe or any of the natural animals. Why do we get sick? There has been a violation that is costing us our life today. And it would have been okay if I live happy until I die because of the violation, but that isn't what's happening. Because of the violation, I become stressed. I become extremely stressed until I die. Why do we get sick? What is the violation? The violation comes with creation, the understanding of it. The violation is when we have forgot or dismissed the Ecclesiastics when it is said, the herbs are for the healing of the nations. But we don't care about that. God, you make your statement that the herbs are good. We are conditioned for a chemical, God. So God, whatever you have to say is in trouble today. Because I, Pastor Gale, I'm referring to my brother. I'm a preacher. For 30 years, God. And my brother Sebi, known as Dr. Sebi, came and showed me in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, Ezekiel, and Revelation, that the herbs are for the healing of the nation. But what my brother Sebi didn't know, that the food that I have been trained to eat have turned me against the very God that I claim to worship. I am compelled to violate that greatest image, that greatest structure, God and the organic world. So now, I don't want to take you into a crazy maze of a bunch of words that I am deploying to you. I want to make sense because you make sense. We all make sense. Why are we sick? And where is the violation? Oh, I want to say this before we get into the subject, that the reason for the violation, and the violation didn't come to me until I was about 50 years of age. But I was born here in Honduras, in Ilanga, a little village with 7 houses. And that little boy is going to grow up in that village until the age of 8. And you mean to tell me that from that position, which the house in which I was born was ground, it was the dirt. We didn't have any ceramic or wood. Mama didn't have that. Mama had the dirt floor. It was always clean. So from that level, of being born in Ilanga, Honduras, to have made this leap into the understanding of things, that I would arrive at deploying these words to you about health. The boy never been to school. The boy didn't read any books. I was least of the candidate that could think about occupying a position that could be credible. Well, guess what? Nature designs and decides that. The violation, you're going to see it. You see, I said we're going to travel on this journey. It's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful path. It's peaceful because it brings understanding. Look carefully about the way the African live in the jungles. Look at the way the Inca live in the desert of Nazca. Look at the way the Maya lived in Central America. And then we go to the Toltecs and the Olmecs in Mexico. Then we go to the Cheyenne and the Sioux, those American Indians. Carefully, we're going to begin with that. The African, the Inca from South America, the Maya Central America, the Toltecs and the Olmecs from Mexico, and the American brothers and sisters, natives. You know what we are called by on certain levels of understanding? We are called the organic family. The organic family, all families are organic, not so. I was in Nazca, Peru, which I travel once in a while. I love Peru. I've been going to Peru since 1955. And I enjoy going to Peru like I enjoy going to Mexico. It was in Peru that I became aware of the organic family through a Peruvian Inca descendant. He said, "Black man, are you aware or do you have any idea what you represent?" I said, "No, Paul." He said, "Well, we have something in common. We are a member of the organic family." What do you mean by that? You see, the organic family is exactly what we say it is. Organic. No waste. We do not produce waste. Everything about us is recyclable. And this is why we didn't have any toilets. Oh God, what is this? This man is showing me something that I have never before heard. We didn't have any toilets. I said, no, we don't have any toilets. We didn't need that. Remember, what we ate was products that are considered native. No starch, no uric acid, no blood. No blood, no starch. Uric acid, blood. Carbonic acid, starch. You see, when we ate electric food. That's all we had in our environment. The organic family only had electric food as part of their diet. So they ate very little and infrequent. It wasn't necessary to eat 3 times a day with plates full of tanya, dashin, cassava, and blood. Not to mention the rice, which is starch, glycerinic acid. No, we didn't have that. The organic family only ate electric food. So when he passed his feces, he could pass his feces in his hands and put it back in the soil. But the family, he said, that live outside of that cosmic arrangement, you don't want to be around when you use the bathroom. It's something that is horrible. Imagine what goes on inside. If what you smell is so unpleasant, what goes on inside? So the organic family, being that it was electric food, their diet, there was no waste. This was recyclable. Didn't need a toilet. Do you understand, black man, what I'm saying to you? You remember Paul? I said, of course. And I love it. The organic family was never diseased. Why? It was impossible. It was impossible because we live within the arrangement, the procession of life. I'm not an anchor, and there are certain things that are indigenous to the anchor. I am not a Sioux or a Cheyenne. I am not a Toltec. I'm not a Maya. But I am an African. And there is a connection with the family. So, I was compelled to direct my thought patterns, my vision, towards the continent. I am an African. And what does that mean? It means that when creation designed the African, there was a food that was designed for that African. And if you believe that this is an untrue, well then, let us take the diet of the African and give it to the man that lives in the ice, the Inuits. No, he was designed to eat whale and fish. We were designed to eat something green. But nonetheless, it was compatible with our genetical predisposition. So now we come to why we are sick. The African had a food, the Eskimo had a food, the Inca had a food that you do not find in Africa, nor what is in Africa you find in Peru. But what he needed was in Peru. And what I needed was in Africa. If I ever make the mistake and select a component or a thought from another gene predisposition or another geography, I'm only saying, hey fellas, I am blind. I need to go to Kathmandu. I need to go to Nepal. I need to go to India. Or I need to go to Europe. And what you going there for? You see, I'm blind. I am totally lost. And being that I am lost, I don't know what is what and where to go. You see? We are blind and we show it. We shows it. I have friends that have books written by scholars from all over the world, from all religious structures. Scholars. Me, I'm too ignorant for that. You see, I was spared. I didn't go to school. So the work of a scholar has no place in my environment. Why? Because what scholar do you know that has written a paper or a book that addresses gene food consistency? Nobody. And if we gonna violate that cosmic arrangement, all else is useless. It doesn't matter. You're violating. You are stressed. What do you mean? Yeah, there is such thing as African food. And it isn't rice and beans and carrots, cows, chicken and hogs, lamb or goats. No, it isn't rice and beans. We didn't have that. Those things was brought to us. These are the things that makes us sick. The violation was done over a period of years. The African has been misled. Who do we African people point our fingers to say you are responsible? We don't know, but we know this, that we have been violated from a cellular structure. We've been violated that is causing pain and anxiety today among us. Stress so much that we blow our own brains out and offend others in many different ways and levels. I am manic, but I contain it with my suit, my tie, and my cup of coffee, not to mention my watch and my Mercedes. But one day, very soon, the doctors would say, hey man, you got something on you, in you, about you. And what is that, doc? It is cancer. Cancer? Well, my ancestors didn't have cancer. It was unknown. Why do I have cancer? Well, it's a virus. And what do you have? The other one has AIDS. That's a virus. The other one, herpes, that's a virus. Everything happened to be a virus, a germ, or a bacteria. How do we know that? We don't know that. Among all the writers in the black community, in the diaspora, none of them paid attention to what we should have been paying attention to. Our health. Our health. That would privilege me, would help me to love you and each other and myself first. That was omitted. We know all about the religious people. We know all about the cross and Jesus. We know all about that. But when we go home to eat, we eat something that was definitely offend our biological and cellular structure. Why is that? Where did that message come from? That we were supposed to eat starch and blood as a diet. When these things offend the black man's biology. So, today, we are carving out a little path into the past, and what we found, that yes, we are a member of the organic family, and that we didn't have any waste to rid ourselves from. But once in a while in New York, in LA, and anywhere you go, you see these trucks that written on them, it says waste management. How do you manage waste? I don't know. It's waste. Why even manage it? Why produce it? This is the reason why we are sick. So today, we want you to know that we are a member of the organic family, and that because of that understanding or level of understanding, we could put forth the effort to ameliorate much of the ills that beset us. Isn't that beautiful? To come to that level of understanding that we need to change our diet to that which is compatible with our cellular predisposition. The African. I am not saying that the African is better than the Caucasian, or that the African is better than the Chinese. When you begin to compare races and groups, then something has to be wrong with you. We are different. I am not a Caucasian. I am not a Chinaman. I am an African, which means that I am compelled to follow that cosmic dictate and that nothing should interfere with it. And do we now have the right to address this health situation that we are faced with? Ebola. Ebola. Cut it out. That's a joke. Africa been dying for the last 500 years. The immunological system of the African has been compromised. Look at the diet of the African. None of it is African. Not to mention us. What do? Well, we fix it. We fix it. That was the conversation that I had with my mother before she passed. She said, you know, when you were a little boy, they used to ask me, what is Fred gonna do? I used to tell him, I don't know. They asked your grandmother, Mama, hey, that's my grandmother. What's gonna happen to Fred? What is he gonna do? My Mama here would say, I don't know. Well, why don't you send him to school? That's when my grandfather would step in and says, gorillas doesn't take their cubs to be trained by polar bears. He will not go to school. He have to learn that which is consistent with his journey, with his cosmic journey. So I'm the little boy that didn't go to school but didn't understand why. But now that I'm at the age, in my winter of my age, I could see why my parents did that to me. They wanted me to stay clean. that I would be able to absorb just the material that life had to offer, not the philosophy of life. And that is where we're going to end this chapter, that the black man is not philosophical, that comes from another society. Philosophy has not done anything in ameliorating the condition of health that exists on the planet today. The philosophy of medicine is it exists, disease exists because of germ, virus, bacteria. So we have to treat it with a chemical, cyanide, arsenide, mercury, or antimony. That makes a lot of sense to philosophy, which is ours. We don't need philosophy. We are not philosophical folks. We are organic folks. The people that live by philosophy, they produce waste. Now we go to the organic family. What is the thought structure? There is none. I'm obedient, and that's all I have to be. Obedient to the laws of life, the arrangement of life. The elephant doesn't live by a philosophy, nor the giraffe. He just obeys what his mommy and his papi ate through generations of existence. So it comes in now. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land. And that is what Dr. Sebi did. He went to the mother country, selected plants, and voila! AIDS are being cured. Ebola is being cured. Diabetes, sickle cell anemia. Oh, sickle cell anemia. The disease that beset every black person on the planet today is sickle cell. Why? Well, you know, every plant lives by the dictates of the DNA that represent that plant. Like if I go to burdock, I'm looking for iron. But if I go to the lily of the valley, I'm looking for something else, calcium and iron combined. But if I want calcium in its purest form, I go to sea moss. If I want phosphorus, I go to the sentinella plant. And so it goes with plants, and so it goes with birds, animals, and man. My food is not what I've been giving. The cure has to be organic. Phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides. This would ensure equilibrium in the body. They would begin to cleanse and revitalize. Stress would be diminished, and a new direction would be presented to you. This is the first of 3 chapters acquainting you with the journey of the organic family. That is where Bolingo steps in. The Bolingo group, the love group, the organic family. Salutation. Welcome. Welcome to this world of Dr. Sebi, the organic world. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, over the years, I have been asked so many times by many of you, Dr. Sebi, how did you learn to put these compounds together? How did you know what to choose from the forest? Well, I could tell you stories about how I was led to it. But for me to say today that I did it on my own recognizance and that I am that wise, no, I'm not. Didn't happen that way. How did it happen? You see, I have been now on this planet 82 years, and over the last 60 years, I have been very well aware about activities that reverberate around the diaspora, and that which includes our culture, the black man, as we are called. Well, there are many of us that have many expressions about blackness, and they are good because they show growth. We're growing. Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey. They are most honorable Elijah Muhammad, dear holy apostle. Then you have people like, Benjamin Banneker, George Drew. All these men, they fit in this chronology, in this sequence, in this procession. What we see here is this. Dr. Sebi drew from all of these people and still drawing from you. What I came to the conclusion very early, and I couldn't verbalize it because in the 60s, the talk was philosophy. It was Herodotus. It was Pliny. It was Socrates. It was Plato, Diogenes, Aristotle. Well, I couldn't participate in their conversations in Los Angeles with the great Ron Karinga and Kalu, Chaka, Lee Drawn. They all entertained these very heavy, important subjects. I couldn't participate. Why? Because I could never put my finger on something that these people were saying that related to blackness. Couldn't. And I grew up in a black house in Honduras as a little boy. So I couldn't take part in their dialogue. Sometimes I would feel handicapped. Sometimes a little bit like emotionally disturbed because I want to participate. But what I didn't know and I didn't notice was that life had it arranged for me to keep my big mouth shut. Yes, I kept my big mouth shut. From age 30 until about age 47. Those 17 years, I was able to put together, or I was able to receive from the natural arrangement of life what was really going on. Well, this is what I saw. This is what I received. The black race didn't have a philosophy. They didn't need a philosophy. Europe needed philosophers. Why did Europe and not Africa? You see, Africans, we live by the laws of life. That's the model. the laws of life. Do we need a philosophy? No. We just follow the natural law. Are we confused? Well, the eagle makes her nest before she lays her egg. And she weaves that nest quite well. Where did she go along to weave that nest? Who teach that eagle to weave that nest? That's a big bird gonna be in there, you know, including herself. Where did she learn that? She didn't learn it. It was always part of her DNA. It's inscribed, indelibly imprinted in her DNA. And what about the bear in the Alaskan tundra? When it gets cold, not her den. She's right in the middle of the cold, but she knows how to fix that den and to shape that hole that the wind would not bother her and her cubs while she's in her den. Where did she learn that? It only shows that we too are part of that cosmic arrangement, that procession. So today, it is philosophy against cosmic, or versus cosmic, or cosmic versus philosophy. Philosophy is about the assumption. I believe. I believe. I believe. I assume. I think. With us, not so. I know. There's a difference. Philosophy is based on belief and on assumptions. When you don't have a philosophy and you follow the laws of life, which should be the model, then you don't have to believe in anything. You know. So today, we're going to see the difference. The products of philosophy, notice carefully now, we don't want to confuse this issue. The product of philosophy is always a chemical. Arsenides, cyanides, mercury, and antimony. These are the products of philosophy. They are made in a laboratory, expecting them to assimilate with the human body. Come on now. That's philosophy. Again, I repeat. Cyanides, arsenides, mercury, and antimony. These are the products of philosophy. These are applied to food and medicine. With the black man, not so. Ours is organic. Ours is natural. So we go just the opposite of arsenides, cyanide, antimony, and mercury. These are protoplasmic poisons. Now we travel into the organic world, the world that is free of philosophy. We want to make sure that when we enter the field of nutrition or of addressing disease, you don't want to go into that arena believing. Because I could believe that I'm giving you mullein, but it is foxglove. and I'm going to poison you because they look alike. I have to know. So with the black man not having a philosophy, where are we left with? The model of life, nature itself. So from nature, we get phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides. These are considered by biochemistry as food and vitalizers, not protoplasmic poison. Phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides. You mean to tell me that I have to learn these things? Oh yes, Dr. Sebi. You have to learn the language of biochemistry. Hey, but hold it, fellas. Like, is that necessary? Today it is. Why? Because when our mothers was taken away from the forest, she was introduced to the mechanical world. So we have to understand the mechanical language. But in the forest, we didn't have to know about cyanide, arsenides, mercury, and antimony because it didn't exist. And we didn't have to learn about phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromide because that's all we had. So whatever selection you made, you were right on time. But we lost that ability. We lost that ability over the 500 years of eating things that offends us. We're not able to select from the forest or to even know what to eat. Could you imagine that I, the educated man, need a nutritionist to hold my hand? A nutritionist need to come and hold my hand to show me what to eat. Does an elephant have a nutritionist? Does a gorilla have a nutritionist? The answer is no. But then, the nutritionist, who is supposed to be educated and that their understanding of food is above all everybody else, guess what? Correct me if I'm wrong. The nutritionist, you have to eat your protein. You have to eat your protein. You need your protein. The nutritionist is telling us that we need our protein. They went to school. Now, why do they have to hold your hands to show us that we need protein? The gorilla doesn't hold anybody's hand to show them what they need to eat. They know. It's coded in the DNA. So you see, when Messenger Elijah Muhammad said that they gave us the wrong food to eat, we didn't realize the extent of the damage that was done to the brain and to the central nerve system only because we cease honoring our mother and our father. It wasn't our fault, yours nor mine or anyone else. But the time has arrived that it is right in front of our face. Whether you're a Christian, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Buddha, or you're a Hebrew Israelite, not to mention Jewish, they all comes to the Usha village for what? The cure of their disease. So you see, and that including Dr. Sebi, we all are sick. regardless to your religious belief. So we come to this juncture in which we have to put forth a level of understanding that's going to take us beyond religion. And why is that? Well, a few things. Religions. The Christian had me eating pork, which is going to hurt me. It hurt me for many years. It hurt me until I was 30. It hurt me. Messenger Elijah Muhammad came into my life and removed it. Then I had to leave what he, the messenger, recommended. Lamb and carrots. I couldn't eat that either. But the messenger always said that the best Muslim was still in the street. In fact, the messenger knew, and I knew this from his mouth. I ate with Messenger Elijah Muhammad in 1959 in Chicago on Woodlawn Avenue. Present was John Ali, National Secretary, Supreme Captain Raymond Sharif, and there was myself and Harry Nance from New Orleans and the messenger. And while the messenger is cutting the meatloaf, he was looking at us and he said, we should stop eating meat. So we're growing. You see, Christianity helped me, Islam helped me, the Hebrew Israelite helped me. But the time has come, I now have to help them. Because we cannot eat the tofu that the Hebrew Israelite is selling us, because it's going to hurt us. Tofu, my brothers and sisters, is starch. Starch is not a food. Starch is known in the scientific world as carbonic acid. It's not a food. It creates another level and a reaction that produces sulfides in the body. Sulfides does one thing and one thing alone: rob you of your oxygen. And this is why many of our patients that is cancerous of the breast or of the reproductive organ are Muslims or Hebrew Israelite. Why? Because the Hebrew Israelite is giving our sisters this tofu, which is robbing them of their iron and weakening their system. Well, we are not going to blame our brothers in the religion of the Hebrew Israelite for doing that. No. Today is not about blaming anyone. It's about us realizing that that which we know as constant is on top of us today. They call it change. Change is the only thing that is constant. And as that change takes place, we move and we change with it. Sure, I like to go to the restaurants of the Hebrew Israelites. I like to go to the Islamic restaurant in Detroit on Michigan Avenue, Agnatun. But I want to go in there and eat something good. So now, for us to do that, we have to help the brothers and the sisters to produce the things that are good for us, not to condemn them. We're not going to talk about Yahweh ben Yahweh. We're not going to talk about Minister Firecarn. No, we're not going to talk about Reverend Al Sharpton. We're going to help them to understand that there has been a paradigm shift and that we are responsible for responding to that shift. Yes, I love Muslims. Yes, I love Hebrew Israelites, not to mention Christians. Every time I think about you Christians, I think about Reverend Littleton in Memphis, and I think about Reverend Jordan in Louisiana, New Orleans, that used to feed me and then laugh at me. You Muslims, they're feeding you. I gotta give you a job to eat. But it was all beautiful. So yes, you see, philosophy against that which is cosmic. That which is cosmic is consistent with life. That is truth. Truth is that which support life. And that which support life, you knows. Yeah, brothers and sisters. Change has arrived. But we shouldn't resist it. Because if we resist it, imagine our children are going to suffer. I have a little boy, he's only a year old, David. I got to talk to his mother constantly about what she's going to put in my baby's mouth beside her breast. Taiwa, well, I had to raise my little girl with sea moss and hemp milk. You understand? And then she had her spelled bread. But she's 4 years of age now. And she's telling me what I need to do. Now imagine that. But it all comes with help. So yes, philosophy does not fit in life vernacular. It is cosmic. It got to be organic. It got to be native. It is electrical. And that is where Dr. Sebi draws his energy from. That black woman in the jungles of Africa. She is one or part of the organic family. Africa, the African, the Aztecs, the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Incas, the American Indian, they all makes up the organic family. But there is something that we all had in common, the organic family. We didn't have a toilet because our fecal matter didn't stench, because we didn't eat anything for that to occur. We were clean. We ate only that which was alkali. So even our fecal matter went back into the soil. Recyclable. Yes. I had to fight some uphill little things in the past, you know, obstacles, they call them. One is that I was taken to the Bronx Botanic Center in November of 1987, questioned by botanists from Yale and Harvard or Princeton. I know what they were doing. See, I was arrested, and my case began in '88. Now they want to test me, and they send these people to see if my premise was consistent, if my foundation was solid. Well, I don't really have to prove myself to anybody. I just got to produce. I was always about production, not talking. So the man said, the Jewish man, are you acquainted with the works of Dr. David Ayensu? That he's trying to find the cure of leukemia using the rosy periwinkle? I said, I think I am. What do you know of it? I said, well, Dr. David Ayensu is looking for the cure of leukemia by isolating the active ingredient in the rosy periwinkle. But the rosy periwinkle is a hybrid plant. It's an acid-based plant.
it was cross-pollinated in Madagascar by the French. Because it was cross-pollinated and it isn't a product of nature, the base is acid. That's the secret. No big secret. If nature didn't make it, don't take it. If nature didn't make it, don't take it. Don't take it if nature didn't make it. This I heard from the mouth of some sisters in Philadelphia when I gave a speech. And they were right. You see, nature doesn't make anything with starch. And the rosy periwinkle has starch. No healing. So enough for the research of Dr. David Ayensu. He's a beautiful brother. He's from Ghana. He's a member of the Smithsonian Institution. But we have to help Dr. David Ayensu to understand certain things. Like we have to help Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, you always make these recommendations across the board. One size fits all. No, brother. We love you, Gupta, but we see where you need to raise your level of understanding, because when you talk, you seem to forget that there is a genetical thing that needs to be considered. My genetic predisposition is not the same as a Caucasian or Chinese or an Eskimo. We are different. Hey, Sanjay? So when you go back talking about treatment and complementing, be careful, man. You have to know something about our genetical predisposition, which I don't think that they taught you in school. So we want you to know that you need to revamp your position. As far as Dr. Deepak Chopra, we also love you. But you were the one that asked me, why did I remove from Teddy Pendergrass eggs and steaks and chicken, when you said to me that these are the things that constitute protein? Dr. Deepak, you too, we need to help you, and we are willing to do so. You see, when we African talk, we talk from a position that is linked to the procession of life. So, Dr. Deepak Chopra, when you told Teddy in front of me, when you told me in front of Teddy that I was not supposed to do such thing, you forgot that everything on Teddy was moving that was never supposed to move again. We are not in opposition to you, but you doesn't know anything about the African and our cellular structure or predisposition. Sanjay Gupta and Dr. Deepak Chopra, we are willing to help you. Believe me, we have to live up to our position. Remember, we are the African. We are the one that have a long history of complimenting people because we are obedient to the laws of life. So you see, that's right. There has been a paradigm shift where brothers and sisters just come with the shift. Today, I hope that the little presentation and the few minutes would have helped to clarify much of the fog that exists in our understanding. There is such thing as the organic and the inorganic, the alive and the dead. Protein has no place in the human body because it is non-electrical. We are electrical. Electric body, electric food. That is chemical affinity. That is digestion. That is assimilation. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And this is one of the chapters from the African bio-mineral balance. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you very much. Good evening or welcome. Good day. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I have been asked to talk about my arrest by the police and brought before the grand jury, New York, end up in the Supreme Court of New York. It was all right. But my arrest didn't begin in 1987. The stage was set long before the 10th of February of 1987. You see, before I got to New York, many years before, there were many healers then, like there are now, making claims, but never have, delivered. There were 2,781 cases that went before the Supreme Court for practicing medicine without a license and making fraudulent claims. I'm the 2,782nd. When the police came, I said to them, I asked them, why do you have your gun drawn? You are in a health place, the Usha Research Institute. Why do you have your gun drawn? They said the element of surprise. I said, but my mother told me that when I put the ad in the papers that we cure AIDS and other diseases, that you would be coming. My mother told me that. Been 2 years now. We've been waiting for you. You said element of surprise. You kind of 2 years late. About the arrest, it was the most beautifulest thing that I ever experienced in my life unfolding in front of me. If I were aware of what was happening to me, I think I would have backed out. I'd have got scared. Okay. So they put the cuffs on me and said, you have advertised that you cure AIDS and other diseases, which is practicing medicine without a license, and you're also selling product not approved by the FDA. Oh boy, I got all these charges against me. When they put the cuffs on me and they take me down the steps, guess what is about to happen? A dialogue between me and the herbs. And the herbs, I have to go down 19 steps. The herbs are saying, yeah, Dr. Sebi, for 2 years, for 5 years then, they've been saying, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Sebi, giving you all kind of praise, standing ovation. But I hope that you know we, the earth, were the one that was giving you that privilege. Now, when he gave you the standing ovations, oh, you were happy. Everybody just, Dr. Sebi. Now we the herb, got cuffs on your arms, handcuffs. Are you going to feel the same way? And I started to laugh. I said, oh my God. I'm a victim because the standing ovations was because of the herbs. Now the handcuffs is because of the herbs. So I know that when the herbs came into my brain and we had this dialogue, that the herb wasn't going to betray me, because I know they represent truth. When they opened the door to let me in front in the street, Channel 7 said, Dr. Sebi, do you really cure AIDS? I said, I cure AIDS then, I cure AIDS now, and for as long as I live, I cure AIDS. Well, how do you feel to be arrested? I say, I feel good. The police have to do things the police way. So I wasn't angry at the Attorney General, Mr. Robert Abrams, for arresting me, because my brothers and sisters were in New York occupying a position that was unfounded, and they thought that I was part of that. No, I'm a different kind of animal. Not better, not worse. A different animal. Don't even try to calibrate me, because you do not have a barometer that could measure what I am and who I am. That also would be a mechanical measurement. So don't even go there. I too cannot calibrate you. So, when I gave that response to Channel 7, the police then said, why do you have to tell them that? I said, but you guys acting crazy with me. You know, gun drawn, cuffs on me. And or because I said that I cure AIDS. If I said that I cure AIDS and sickle cell and lupus and herpes, then A, you should welcome this. No, put it right there. See, you should welcome this. I am your brother. I am a citizen of the United States. I live in the United States. Do you believe that I would leave Honduras to go to America to deploy a bunch of things that were less than the truth? Come on now. No. That was never part of my DNA. That was never part of my giving. That was never anything that I deploy. I don't do that. I never have done that. So they put me in the car and took me to the precinct. When I got to the precinct, the officer that is going to fingerprint me and put the number on my chest said to the officers, you guys messed up. I said, why you say that? Because this man really healed. They said, I asked him, how do you know? He said, because you healed me. I had gout. I said, but I've never seen you. He said, no, I sent a black policeman to tell you that he had gout and he brought me the medicine or the compounds. I said, why didn't you come? He said, because, you know, I don't know if you love white people, the way you talk. That's me, you know. I'm so certain that everybody thinks that I'm angry. I said, you don't know if I love white people. I said, I don't know of any black person that hate white people nowhere in the world. it is impossible for a black person to hate a white person. That is impossible. Why? Because our DNA does not represent that. We die for you. We fight wars for you. I was an immersion Marine for 10 years for you. What? That was the dictate. He said, thank you, man. Thank you. I said, thank you. You see, the perception or the myth is that to be black, you gotta hate white, you gotta hate Chinese, you gotta hate Arabs, you gotta hate Eskimos, not to mention Indians or natives. No. To be black is to be sweet. To be black is to be a servant. To be black is to serve. And there's no better position. So, I'm thrown in jail, and here comes the day of the trial. The first one was the civil case. Judge Shorter, William Shorter from Washington, D.C., but he was in the 6th Appellate Court in New York. He was the judge that let me out on my own recognizance. I arrived in his chambers. He said, why did you advertise that you cure AIDS? I said, well, you see, Your Honor, I have a mother that's alive, and there is a continent by the name of Africa, to which I am a son of. I am an African, and I am not going to make a statement that would undermine my mama, Africa, and my face. And the judge looked at me, and he looked at the woman at the table. He realized that the answer I gave him was one that said, if I didn't cure AIDS, that statement wouldn't be made. He looked at the lady at the table and said, did you guys investigate this man before you arrest him? She said, no. You know, that's Sebi, you know, you arrest a nigger. So the judge said, you didn't investigate the man before you arrest him? She said, no. The judge said, well, the answer he just gave me, he cure AIDS. You guys are going to be in trouble. And yes, indeed, the case began up in the civil court. Down below is the Dr. Victor Herbert and assistant prosecuting attorney or assistant district attorney, Phyllis Spade, is asking the physician in favor of the state, have you heard of any individual that cured AIDS, Dr. Victor Herbert? He said, no. Have you heard of any therapy that cured AIDS? He said, no. Have you heard of any compounds that cure AIDS? He said, no. The judge is cleaning his nails with his eyes closed. And the judge opened his eyes and said, have you ever used Exhibit A? The doctor said, no. The judge said, thank you, and went back to cleaning his nails. When the doctor saw that the judge just destroyed his line of defense, the doctor said, Your Honor, I know all about herbs. Like take, for instance, the foxglove. And the judge responded by saying, the white or the pink? I said, now how in the devil does this judge know about herbs? Well, the case went on, and finally, I won in the civil case. But the judge, Judge Shorter, said to me, Dr. Sebi, when you walk in my courthouse, the state wanted me in my chambers. The state wanted me to see you as a villain. But I saw an honorable man. When I was 18, he said, I want to do something in America that made the difference. I didn't get to do that. I just became a judge. But today, you gave me the privilege to judge that which makes the difference. Bam, bam, bam. You won your case. That's the civil case. But I want you to know that I was not in any way angry at the Attorney General. I'm not angry at anyone. I'm never angry. I don't need to be angry. I got a job to do. I got a whole race that I have to be addressing. Because in the past 500 years, we haven't had anyone to come to us with a method that really complements our genetical predisposition. And why? Because we never had to do that in Africa. Then they put us through this thing we call slavery, disconnecting us from home. I'm not blaming Black America for not knowing certain things. I'm saying though, this I am saying, that since the standards, the bar has been raised and standards have been set, why do you continue to offer substandard treatment? Dr. Sebi proved that yes, he cured AIDS. Yes, he cures sickle cell and lupus and herpes and blindness and others. Now, the judge said you have to go to the Supreme Court now on the criminal side. I went to the criminal side. That's the side that is really, really, really the beautiful side of this program. I sat there, and the judge said, "Would you please begin?" I said, "I don't know where to begin." "Begin any way you want to begin." I said, "Well, I will begin with 3 questions. Your Honor, is it a fact that our Holy Bible and the Quran, the Hadith, the Talmud, and the Torah, they all teaches that the herbs are for the healing of the nations?" She said, "Yeah." Is it a fact that the father of medicine, Mr. Hippocrates, addressing the diseases of mankind then, he was able to reverse all of them, establishing the principle of medical science? When I take the Hippocratic oath, am I not supposed to follow the precepts of Hippocrates? Well, Your Honor, that is what I'm doing. I'm not violating any American law. I did not come from Honduras to America to violate any of your laws. I respect the law then, now, and forever. Did he use herbs or chemicals? She said, herbs. Last question. Your Honor, is it a fact that nature, that science teaches that the human body is carbon-based and that the substance that complements, the only substance that complements the human body is a carbon-based substance. That is where you find this arrangement they call chemical affinity. Chemical affinity comes before assimilation. There has to be an affinity for the stuff for it to assimilate. Assimilations means digestion. Electric body, electric food. Carbon-based body, carbon-based food. She said, yes. I said, thank you. I rest my case. Are we going to get a response for what this man just said? And who is she asking that to? The team of doctors that were there representing the state, and Dr. Victor Herbert was at the head. What kind of response are they going to give? You see, we black people, we live in a world of fear, and a world that is so far from reality. It begins with candomblé, obatula. We talk about the orishas. We talk about obia. But nowhere in this arrangement of spirituality could we extrapolate a component that we could use to address the state of the race of today. Nowhere, and not one ingredient, but I believe in it. I believe in spirituality. Well, I believe in nothing. I don't even believe in me. I don't have to believe in me. I live me. This stuff about belief, this is why the Attorney General got in the predicament with me that he got into. He should have never arrested me. But then again, I can't talk like that. That's hindsight. That's after the fact. I was supposed to be arrested. Because my mother had told me that in placing the ad in the papers, that I would be arrested. She knew it. You see, my mama was tired of hearing people tell her that I was lying. And she said, well, I'm going to fix them. She called me, I was in D.C. She said, son, do yourself a favor. Nobody believe what you're saying is true. Put the ad in the papers and go to jail, and I know you could get out. And that is exactly what I did, with the recommendation of Mama. But there again, our compounds are based on Mama. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land. Again, Mama came from an organic environment. And all of the compounds that could properly address the human body would have to be from that same structure that supports all life. It's not a philosophy. So Dr. Victor Herbert and the prosecuting attorney, Mr. Bartley, he was trying to show the court that I said that I cure AIDS. I never make that statement. The ad read, AIDS has been cured by the OSHA Research Institute. I don't like to take claim of anything. I don't need that. Why do I need it for? Am I going to win something because I make a claim? I better make a claim and live up to it, because that burden would be on me. Your Honor, I have never said that I cure AIDS. I said that the paper read, AIDS has been cured by the OSHA Research Institute. And we specialize in cures for sickle cell, lupus, herpes, cancer, bladder, paralysis, and others. The judge said, may I see the ad, the papers? And when she looked at the paper, and this you could find in the Amsterdam News, November the 2nd, 1985, page 9. You will also find Miss Emma Wright, a sickle cell patient that was cured. The judge said, oh my gosh, he's right again. His name doesn't appear here. So I said to the jurors, to the judge, to the press, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen of the jury, my most humble and distinguished positions, and last but not least, my prosecuting attorney, Mr. Bodley. You have been trying for 1 hour, trying to convince the judge that I said that I create. I never make that statement because I like to share. I've always been like that. That's my life. It's things I do. But you've been fighting to attach that to me. But I'm going to give it to you for free. Yes, I curate. No big thing. It only makes me responsible. And I am responsible. And in my position of responsibility, I don't want you to believe that I'm going to impose myself on you. I need you. And if I, at some point, is not quite in balance or in symmetry, you, the listener, you have the right to correct Dr. Sebi. You have that right. I'm not above anyone. I'm your brother. I'm your friend. I am your servant. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me the privilege to share with you how we were able to win the case. The witnesses came, 77 of them instead of 9, and all of the evidence was shown, AIDS before and AIDS after, lupus and herpes and blindness and everything else. Hey, brothers and sisters, shouldn't you be happy with your brother? And you, the white race and every other race, you should be happy with me too. Why should you be angry at me? I'm here to heal you too. We all need healing. And you should be happy to know that out of that black experience with you in America, that we, the black race, have in our DNA the capacity to embrace you, the world, and offer you the healing that you need. Yes, my arrest was on time. My arrest was supposed to be to legitimize my position. Thank you. Thank you again, Dr. Sebi, your servant. I've been called many things, but I am known as Dr. Sebi, your brother. I have been called at some point Dr. Sebi, the forever changing traveler. This was done by you sisters. But in my life, it began with Mama Hay. That's my nickname, acquired from my grandmother that I was always with. My grandfather was a Haitian. My grandmother from Belize. But these two hooked up nice because all they talk about was Africa. Africa, Africa, Africa. I grew up listening to Africa, about Africa. And I learned to like Africa. And I remember my first time to Africa was in 1956. I was happy to go to Johannesburg, to South Africa. Not Johannesburg, but to Cape Town. I was happy because Africa is the geography of our genesis. But over the years, all I could hear about Africa from the people in New Orleans and round and about these Africans. Now that 52 or 60 years have gone by, I no longer hear this African. I hear this African descendant. I don't know who is an African descendant. I am an African or not? What is it? I am an African. My DNA is not an African descendant. It's African. But because philosophy seemed to have risen to a height that eclipsed all that which is natural, Africa representing the natural doesn't look too encouraging. It doesn't look palatable, doesn't taste right. Because when I see it, these brothers are jumping around without no clothes on. Yep, they're running around without any clothes. But if you carelessly misinterpret that, you will find yourself at a deficit. You see the body breathe through the skin, not only the nostrils. When you take your clothes off, you immediately relax. It doesn't cost any money. But I am subjected to the philosophy of the existing times. I was told that I was a sinner and a savage, and that I dance in fire. All this was said about me. And I am listening to all of this all through my life. And do you know that I have never heard anyone in the field of anthropology, archaeology, paleontology, that really describes the African the way he should be described, but a Mexican is going to talk about Africa the way that I have never heard. So I grew up with this Africanness in me, not able to put it in any perspective because everybody is anti-Africa. It was about Herodotus and Pliny. It was about philosophy. And Africa didn't have a philosophy. What do you mean? They cannot compete. Compete in what? And why they needed a philosophy. So I grew up hoping that one day I would be able to see beyond the negative. And boy, did that day come. That day came. It came in the form of a dream. And I began to pay attention. Remember when they said to us, honor thy mother and thy father? Well, where did our mother and father came from? The jungles of Africa. But what did they say about the jungles? It's nasty. It's dangerous. But in reality, it is clean. It is alkali. It is electrical. So yes, I have turned my eyes on Africa and I have learned a lot and still learning. Today, Dr. Sebi was invited with some of the presidents and secretary to the president of Guinea to come and heal him and others. Why should I go to Africa to heal someone that represent the genesis of our beginning? Oh, it's easy to understand that. It isn't that the African is handicapped or that he doesn't have the science or the way to get to from A to B. He never had to do it. You see, Africa was never sick. Africa became sick in the last 500 years. Prior to 500 years, Africa didn't have any vaccine. Africa didn't have any Ebola. Africa didn't have any AIDS, and Africa didn't have any protein. Today, my home is sick. Africa is sick. Is it my duty to stand by, sit by, and see that a lot of things is being offered to the continent that I know affects the biology of the people, eventually weakening the fiber of the country? Africa is sick, but yet they are pumping them up with vaccines, with all kind of serums and proteins. They are selling Africa shiploads of chicken, shiploads of pork meat, and cancer is being found in Congo at age 8, something never before heard of. Sebi, I am not the most important person in the arrangement of the black world. I am the least of the important person in the black world. All I am is a servant, you know. So what does he want? How should we even position this individual that claimed that he could do all of this? I am a son of Africa. You cannot deny that of me. And am I not responsible for contributing to the welfare of Africa? Not only of the black man in Africa, of the Caribbean and American, all over the world, and every race that exists. So, but self-preservation is the first law. So naturally, it is incumbent upon us to touch Mama, to heal Mama. Right now, she's sick. So, I went to South Africa under the leadership of the most humble and distinguished Sir, Mr. Nelson Mandela. Well, they looked at me like I was lesser than. after showing them documents, diagnostic sheets, HIV positive, HIV negative. I showed that to the Board of Health of South Africa. And AIDS is running rampant in South Africa. And you mean to tell me that the government of Mr. Nelson Mandela, that is so revered and all over the world as being a great liberator of peace, find it necessary to reject what Dr. Sebi had to say? Well, you could investigate it yourself. They kicked me out. Get out! Thanks. Me, I do stupid things. Oh yeah, many, many, many times. I do stupid things. I picked up my $35,000 and went to Zimbabwe under the leadership of Mr. Robert Mugabe. Hey fellas, look what I could do. And while I was there were children that were never supposed to walk was walking and playing ball. Women that had diabetes no longer had diabetes. Get out! Wow. Hey, what's going on with me? Something wrong with me. It's not Mugabe, it's not Zimbabwe. Something is wrong with me. They keep kicking me out. Then they kicked me out of Dominica. They said, nigga, get out. Wow. So, you know, after they done that to you quite a few times, you begin to take inventory of yourself. Oh my God, what's wrong with Sebi? So today, Africa still is my responsibility because I know that the compounds that Europe is selling to Africa is not helping in any form, shape, or fashion because they are inorganic chemicals. And if there is a biochemist or a nutritionist that could prove to us that all these vaccines has a place in the African biology, please come forth and show us. Because 500 years prior into millions of years, we were not vaccinated then. Why now? Why now? Yes, I take the responsibility for reconstructing the genetical predisposition of Africa, or the genetical condition, not the predisposition, but the condition. Why? It has been what? Interfered with. Why not? I am the son of Africa. I have tried many times and they kicked me out. But President Kikwete, yes, I love you, my brother. You showed love for Dr. Sebi from Tanzania. And I will be coming to Tanzania soon, my president, because I would like to do something in East Africa. Africa is where you find some of the best herbs in the world. We could set up laboratories in Africa, processing plant, and supply ourselves with that, and we would be healthier people. Because in the short time that I was in Zimbabwe and in where else I were? In Guinea. Oh yes, I forgot. Guinea. Oh my God. Last but not least, I can't forget you, Guinea. You treated me under the leadership of Lansana Conté like I love to be treated as a brother. It was Lansana Sako that took us there because he was sick. And you treated me royally. And I always remember you, Guinea. I remember going to Fulamori. And I promised that I would return to Fulamori and develop a healing center, because the terrible waters in Fulamori has minerals that has never been recorded. And I was so healthy when I was there. So yes, Guinea, Conakry, I want to be part of you also, because I am already your brother. So yes, Guinea and Tanzania, West Africa and East Africa showed love for Dr. Sebi. And it is my greatest desire, it will be the joy of my life to be given the privilege to exercise the African biomineral balance on the continent of Africa. Why? Because here we have shown, by using the African biomineral balance, to reverse AIDS and all the other diseases. Why? It is organic. It is electrical. It resonates with us. It is ours. It is from our culture. Africa, yes, I'm indebted to you. Yes, you are my mother, and I love you. Thank you very much. Because I grew up in a house that really entertained Africa, because my grandfather was from Haiti, and he knew that Africa was at the base of our existence. It is the genesis of our existence. So the little boy here, Sebi, listened to this all his life, growing up. Well, one day, naturally, I'm going to want to do something for Africa, with Africa. But along the way, I heard that the African wasn't this and wasn't that, and that the African was a savage. And even there are religious people that said that we were savages, that are black people, that makes that statement that we were savages. But they could never really prove or substantiate why this claim was being made. I'm a savage. Okay. What made me a savage? You didn't wear any clothes. Well, that makes you savage. It only said that I didn't need clothes. Because in reality, the body needs no clothes. It is hindered. It prevents the body from breathing when clothes is upon the cells. The cells need freedom. They need the air to engulf them. But now I am civilized. I am not the African of yesterday. I'm the African that was made. So Africans, you all cannot go around showing your penis and your vagina anymore. You're gonna wear clothes because you're savage. But as we take a look back into the history of black people or Africans, and we just travel back into the chronology of it, way back then, 500 years ago. That man that they said was a savage, check this out, man. He didn't have alcohol. He didn't have any crack. He did not have any kind of drugs, no drug stores. He didn't have any medicine. He didn't have any money and didn't have any disease. This was the savage. The savage lived without no clothes under those trees. Well, if the savage could do all of this in his naked state, why can't we try it and see how good it is? Because the byproduct of being in symmetry is peace. And you cannot tell me that clothes is part of the cosmic arrangement, because it isn't. Clothes is a violation. It makes people angry because you deprive the body of oxygen. But that's okay. I'm not asking you, my brothers and sisters, to take your clothes off, because our bodies doesn't look like the body that they brought from Africa. We need help, including me. We all need help. But the point I'm trying to make today about the African is that all of the components that represent sin, none of it was part of the environment of the African. So why is it that today European missionaries take the privilege to tell me and my parents that we are sinners? Ladies and gentlemen, I think that puts us in a position of compromise now, because a foreigner is going to tell us that we are sinners. I mean, this is a fact. I'm not making this up. And the same foreigner that told us that we were sinners tell us that we have to use our hard-earned monies to buy our way out of sin with some money. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to the theologians. Yes, it does. But none of it is godly. None of it. So, what we see here is that I have been compromised and reduced to a level that I myself find it difficult to afford myself the love that God had put in me from the beginning of time. So today, the African cannot continue on the path that was designed by another to further the cause of his life, because it isn't working. And we're going to take few components. We was offered chemical medicines. We were offered chemical food. That isn't part of us. That is not part of our diet. That isn't part of our nutrition. So why should someone that claims openly that they are godly, but they offer me a substance that is less than? What are they saying to us? The African. The African has demonstrated throughout history that he was not the aggressor, that he was not the one to enslave another, and he was not the one to violate the laws of life. So yes, Dr. Sebi, because Dr. Sebi recognized the beauty, the strength, and the substance that comes out of that Genesis, the healing that you are receiving today is exactly one of the products that come from the African. Yes, remember when Dr. Sebi came on the set, there was the Ayurvedic from India, the macrobiotic from Japan, the homeopathic from Europe, and the allopathic. And none of them was resonating on a level that was offering the world and humanity at least a hope, because they were offering ghee, clarified butter, which is deadly, which is a poison, it is caustic. And then they were offering us aloe vera, which is another acid. But here comes to the rescue unknowing to anyone, even to the bearer of the information. 1988. It came seeping through. The genie just got out of the bottle. The African bio-mineral balance. The African bio-mineral balance is the result of the thinking of the African people. No one else has ever been able to accomplish the reversibility of the diseases that does the African bio-mineral balance. So, we want the world to justify its position in the past, present, and present. Why is it that there has been such a prejudicial position that is launched against the African? What did we do to deserve that? And we, brothers and sisters, as Mr. Hamid Blewett showed your brother Sebi, that one of the things that we black people is maintaining in our head as part of the conditioning that prevents us from accepting self to be able to soar, they call it shame. Hamid said, we are ashamed. But that's okay, we are ashamed. But who made us that? But brothers and sisters, remember, I am the son of Africa. And my mother lived in an alkali world. And none of her components, none of the components of life existed in her environment that would have forced her to go into the position of anger. No, my mama was sinless. Oh yes, she was sinless. And I am her son? When did I become sinful? Help me. Help me. And I notice, and it is seeing, that those brothers and sisters that feel that they are sinful, they really live in a sinful world. And they do sinful things. And they cannot get away from the devil. Why? Because they are sinful. With me, oh, I love Satan. I love that lowdown. Hey, I gotta love him. You see what happened? I'm not sinful. I don't have to worry about Satan. Only sinful people worries about Satan. You see, if God is my Savior, why am I supposed to be afraid of Satan? And furthermore, just live truth. Just live love. Remember, Bolingo is the canopy. So who made the devil? I think God did. And do you believe that God was drunk? God didn't know what he was doing when he made Satan? God knew very well that Satan was necessary. And I know that. I don't believe that. I know that. And because I know that, well, I side with God. And I just neutralize Lucifer's wickedness. And guess what, fellas? Lucifer doesn't like that. But Lucifer asked me, where did I come from? What rock did I crawl from under? To see him in that light. Yes, I have to see you in that light because the Christian people teach me that everything God made is good. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you.
Wow.
Welcome. Welcome to the Bolingo dimension. The Bolingo dimension is the outgrowth of Africa. You see, when we talk about dimensions of Bolingo, we're going into a world that offers the one thing that everybody loves. Unlike many countries of the world that base their philosophy or their structures on philosophy. We African people, we never had a philosophy nor philosophers. So therefore, we were left to propel ourselves through life using the same vehicle and method as all other living species of living things, Mother Nature and its arrangement. So we at Bolingo, we understand that, and we know that in following a natural arrangement, you could never go wrong. You just follow the rules of life. So what we found, unlike many, is that all of the effort that we have put forth as black people, many of them failed. Others just took some time to go off into another direction other than the way that our mothers followed. That was okay. Why? Because we violated Mama. You see, in Bolingo, we know that honor thy mother and thy father is essential. It is the way that continuity is maintained, by honoring your mother and your father. Why is it so important? Because things, as you know, expresses itself and vibrate on a higher resonance when they are in their original state. Things function best, not in the altered form, in their original state. And it seems as if though it's been overlooked by many. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land. Sure. The way things are arranged naturally, that chronology continues throughout life. But you have to know what the laws and the rules are. We don't know. We were severed. So it took us some time to excavate and to dig to find the answer of our problem, a part of it. We are addressing health. In addressing health, we have to go to the very foundation of our life. That which was arranged by life process for us to continue that journey without the disease state. You see, we were not created to be diseased. We were made to live healthy, happy until we pass on. But today, unfortunately, we are sick. All of us are sick. We're born sick. Only because a link has been broken. None of us are aware as to the food that is consistent with our cellular predisposition. We're not aware of that. And that's very important. Remember what we said. Things function best in their original state. Are we close to that? Are we anywhere close to that? Look at what we're eating. We're eating something that has been given to us 500 years ago. What, is it helping us? No. It hasn't been helping us. So we see now that it is important to listen to Mama again. The link has been broken, true, but is it forever? No, not so. So we find that in going back to Mama, all of the questions that we had in our head has been cleared. We found out that philosophy wasn't necessary, beliefs on many systems and whatever else exists wasn't necessary, because our mothers didn't have those things. We shouldn't either. Our mothers was never sinners, but she was told that she is a sinner. And beside being a sinner, she's told that she had to pay to rid herself of her sin. You see, this is showing that we have been severed from that link. Mama was never sinful. And it is in that state of sinlessness that we found the heal that we need after everybody else have failed. We found the healing. But we give thanks to the Chinese, to the Japanese, to the Indian, to the Europeans, to the Arabs. We give thanks to them for trying to help us over the years, but failed to do so. Not that they wouldn't have liked to, but they just didn't know who we are. We at Bolingo, in our research, we happen to find the cure for our illness. And now, with that understanding, we also understand that the leadership of Bolingo has to be in the hands of a woman, the female. That is first and primary. Understanding that the female should be always at the center of our development. That is exhibited in the forest, with the plants, with the animals, with the flowers, and every living species of things. So in Bolingo, you will find that the leadership is that black woman, the way it started. The one that always occupied the position of the leader. She's back. She's back because it is from her that I learned that to address the body, properly address the body, we had to go into an alkali world. Well, tell me, what was the world of that woman in the forest? It was all alkali, it was electrical.
Always be accusing me of raising up the frequency, and I stay secluded with my oracle so peacefully. Listen to my